In any given year, people in the economy produce goods and services. They produce television sets, books, pencil sharpeners, DVD players, attorney services, haircuts, and much more. Have you ever wondered what the total dollar value of all those goods and services is in your island? Well, it's a massive exercise, so we have never thought of it, and I don't see any meaning of finding out the total value of goods and services in the economy. First of all, there is a very simple and holistic way to calculate the value of goods and services in the economy, and it is a very meaningful number. It gives an idea of the overall progress of the economy. Let us see more in detail about this number in my island. Last year, it was $1.384 trillion. In other words, last year, people living and working in our island have produced $1.384 trillion worth of goods and services. That dollar amount, $1.384 trillion, is what we call as the gross domestic product. Simply put, gross domestic product, GDP, is the total market value of all final goods and services produced annually within a country's borders. Can you please explain by taking a simple example? For sure. Consider a simple economy in which one good is produced and sold. Rahul finds an apple seed and plants it. In some years, an apple tree appears. Rahul pays Ram $5 in wages to pick and box the apples. Next, Rahul sells the apples to Vijay for $8. Vijay turns the apples into apple juice and sells the apple juice to Monica for $10. Monica consumes the juice. What is the GDP in this simple economy? Is it $5? Is it $13? Is it $10? $18? Or some other dollar amount? We use three approaches in our island to compute GDP: the expenditure approach, the income approach, and the value-added approach. Let me describe you each approach in terms of a simple economy. Let's first see expenditure approach. To compute GDP using the expenditure approach, we add the amount of money spent by buyers on final goods and services. The words final goods and services are important in computing GDP because not all goods are final goods. Some goods are intermediate goods. Please define clearly both final good and intermediate good. I am little confused. See, a final good or service is a good in the hands of the ultimate consumer. Think of buyers at each stage of value creation. The first buyer in our simple economy was Vijay. He bought apples from Rahul. The second buyer was Monica, who bought the apple juice from Vijay. Monica is the final buyer in this economy. She is the final user, the ultimate consumer, and she is consuming the final product, which is apple juice. In other words, she herself doesn't add any further value to it and doesn't sell to another person. The good that she buys is the final good. So then, what are the apples? Aren't they a final good too? No. In this imaginary economy, the apples is an intermediate good because they were not consumed directly by consumers like Monica. An intermediate good is an input in the production of a final good. In other words, the apples were used to produce apple juice, the final good. So what does GDP equal if we use the expenditure approach to compute it? Any guesses? Simple. It is the dollar amount spent by buyers for final goods and services. In our simple economy, there is only one buyer, Monica, who spends $10 on one final good, apple juice. Thus, GDP in our tiny economy is $10. I'm still not very clear why expenditures on final goods only are counted when computing GDP. This is because we would be double counting if we counted expenditures on both final goods and intermediate goods. Double counting refers to counting a good more than once when computing GDP. How? If we count both Monica's purchase of the apple juice, $10, and Vijay's purchase of the apples, $8, we count the purchase of the apples twice. Once when the apples are purchased by Vijay and once when the apples are converted into apple juice. So, while a product is going up the value chain by adding value to it, if we add up the product at each stage of the value chain, we are double or possibly triple counting it. And in that case, the economic activity or GDP is not correctly measured. In order to achieve the right measurement, we therefore use only the value of the final product. Very interesting. Now I got it. Let's now touch upon the two other approaches to calculate the GDP in your economy.